Okay, so I'm standing here outside the block I was illegally evicted from in 2014. I was being targeted before that, but didn't really pay much attention to it and just thought it was a handful of people. I had a bunch of people targeting me because I was stupid enough to join Freemasonry in 2011, and I trusted it. Now, I'm not involved in it, and I didn't do anything dirty or perverted at all. I lost a lot when I was evicted from here. But before I was evicted, I was already being targeted and I was starting to have mental breakdowns and things like that. I trusted people too much, was open with people about being involved in Freemasonry. I didn't do anything wrong to anybody, and I certainly have never hurt any children in my life. I was living here with my son. I was studying. I was looking for work. I was doing voluntary work as well. And I'd started decorating the flat. When I was illegally evicted, because I'd been taken to Lambeth Court prior and by Hyde Housing, and I'd been taken to Lambeth County Court prior, and the Lambeth County Court had said to Hyde Housing that I shouldn't be paying as much as I was paying, and gave an amount in a court order that I should be paying. When I was evicted, I was paying a lot more than what the court order said. My stupid thing was trusting the mentality of a group of people that I could call as chavs. And they are conspiracy theorists, and they're very perverted in their mentality. People want to go around calling me a troublemaker. I'm not a troublemaker. I have the right to stand up for my rights, and I have the right to point out that people are involved in crime against me. And to point out their mentality. I have studied psychology. Right? I had people just torturing me ever since I was illegally evicted. The trauma of not having my son in my life anymore. It's a good thing that his dad stepped up and was able to, take him in. And then I had these stupid people like Paula Erica Andrich, and then these hood rat types just running around spreading awful shit about me, just messing with my mentality. And it was really bad, and it still is really bad. I have had so many breakdowns since then, and I've lost over a decade of my life. I now have awful conditions like for example, the COPD. I have that because I'm smoking lots of cigarettes because I'm traumatised. The stuff that people said about me, I never did. But it brought up everything that happened to me while I was in Lambeth Social Services, which has been brushed under the carpet. And it's not my fault if people in Lambeth Housing, various associations and the council are involved in fraud and crime. That's not my fault, right? And I wouldn't have even paid any attention to it, in all truthfulness, if they hadn't committed crime against me and made me suffer in such deplorable ways. They illegally cut off my benefits in 2021 when I was illegally imprisoned for 10 hours for having a breakdown that was caused by the housing team because they wanted to recreate a gang rape that happened when I was 13 as a way to torture me for reporting them to the Financial Conduct Authority. And I wouldn't have even contacted the Financial Conduct Authority had they had helped me in the first place when I spoke to them in 2019, and I was under MARAC, which is a multi-agency thing. And they were meant to be helping me get an injunction against somebody that really, really badly hurt me. But they dropped the help, and then so did the police force, and since then the police force have treated me badly. I've lost 10 years of my life and I didn't even do anything wrong. 10 years I can't get back. In 2015 I was diagnosed with a paraumbilical hernia that was a tiny little lump. But Akerman doctors refused to do anything about it. And when they finally did, 3 years later, it's so big that it has to have open surgery, and it's just got bigger. You know, I have autism. I've always had autism. I was diagnosed at primary school. I have anxiety and panic attacks. That was diagnosed when I was in care. I have emotional unstable personality disorder, which was diagnosed in 2015 by Chris Bowden, and that's why I was referred to the personality disorder clinic, the Cooley Centre. I suffer with a lot of pain and I can't really get better. What's making my hernia worse is I have to carry this huge backpack filled with not only evidence but important documents because I had people messing with my identification. I've had a lot of people targeting me and hurting me, and since I've lived at Peabody, what level of torture I've gone through is diabolical. And what the police force have done to me is disgusting. Why? What? Because what? Is it because some chav weed dealer decided to lie about my family when they got caught serving up? Because why did the police not help me in the first place? Why did they drop the case that I gave to the head of domestic violence? Why have I been abused over and over again while telling the truth? The police won't take a single bit of evidence of any crime, and I'm being tortured and abused and persecuted in my own country. I won't even go back to the doctors anymore because I don't feel safe going to them because they've already broken the law by putting lies on record. I'm not a heroin addict. I don't take any drugs at all. They don't care about what I went through in lab of social services. They don't care about the violence and abuse I've gone through in the last 10 years. They don't care about the persecution, the targeting, and the total destruction of my life. They don't care about the corrupted people putting false things on records and messing with my actual medical records and my actual health care. They don't care that the police force caused me to have a heart attack by triggering me. And then I've just got these horrible people that keep spreading these disgusting lies that are not even true about me and my family, while people that actually do that stuff get away with it. I'm not New World Order, I'm not Illuminati, I'm not a child abuser, I'm not a junkie, I'm not a prostitute. I've lost 10 years. I'm 46. 12 years. That's all. That's a large chunk where I would have been working and I would have been doing something with my life. I had to stop my studies because I was illegally evicted from that place I've just walked past. I've had people just targeting me on and on and on, messing with my psychology and destroying my mind, causing me all forms of breakdowns that are just pure torture. And I keep telling the truth and no one cares. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, let me explain something. Yeah, I actually have studied psychology as well. Get a specialist as a psychological profiler to profile the people that are doing this to me, and you'll see the mentality that they have. Why would anyone target a victim? You know, when they illegally imprisoned me for 10 hours and illegally cut all my money off, they didn't even reinstate it when it came out, even though I've got all these conditions and they're all genuine and I've got to carry all the paperwork for it. I carry the hospital records and things with me. Underpay me for years and then kind of torturing me. I mean, I was going into Kennington Park Job Centre really ill while I was on treatment for a blood disease, and they didn't care to do anything to say, hang on, this woman can't be working right now. People keep calling me a troublemaker. I'm not the troublemaker. Stop persecuting me and abusing me, and then, I've got nothing to say, have I? But you keep abusing me, you keep persecuting me. I'm held in Peabody Trust, where it's not even suitable for me to be living. In a borough where I've been abused my whole life, getting targeted by this, that and the other, and I've had enough. And there are people that took money from the housing department. There are people in Labour Party I've got evidence against. And as for the police force, it turns out that the police force, they only work for criminals and terrorists and abusers. I should have been compensated for everything I've gone through. I should have been compensated automatically. It's disgusting what's happened to me. It's absolutely disgusting. And then for the last 5 years, people playing race card on me. What? Why would you want to protect those sorts of people? Why would you want to do that to me and my family? My family didn't have a problem with anybody. We haven't hurt anybody either, but we're being targeted and singled out. It's a bunch of selfish, heartless, cold abusers. This country is just filled with them. And a lot of policies are, if someone's in danger, they should be moved out of the area where they're in danger. I've experienced serious violence and the police let the people off. Attempted murder and the police let them off. And when I went into the police station the other day outside of the area to report things that had happened to me while I was in care, and it was hard for me to do that. I wasn't even treated suitably. I'd gone to the police station before. They said, okay, we've got the facilities at this police station to deal with you. We can get specialists in to deal with this. So an appointment was made. I go to the police station and they want to deal with it in the front office, which is not suitable. And then they pass the information straight on to Brixton Police Force, which passed it on to the housing. And the very next day, I've got someone trying to psychologically trigger me. I'm glad I documented it. And then threatening letters from the council and the housing because I spoke to the police force. Why would you do that? I wasn't even speaking to the police force about the housing. I was speaking to them about what happened to me in care. And then all these people that have been committing crime against me and my family and targeting me and my family, endangering me and my family, they're getting a pat on the back and they can carry on with their life, no hindrances at all. I've lost 12 years of my life and I am never going to get those years back. I've got physical health conditions that I would never have had if these things hadn't happened to me. Heart issues, lung disease, freaking giant hernia. All because, what, everyone chose to listen to the wrong people? And now I know for a fact, right, that the police force, instead of helping people who went through land for social services that suffered abuse, they torture them. They allow them to get away with it. And that's not that like. And the thing is, you cannot do that to a survivor because the survivor's got evidence against fraud. I know you can't illegally imprison someone for 10 hours for having a mental breakdown. And what Brixton Police Force did when I was having that mental breakdown in 2020 was also illegal. You're not allowed to arrest someone and hold them in a cell for 24 hours when they're having a mental breakdown. You should have called an ambulance. That was the only time that an ambulance should have been called on me. Leaving the Peabody Trust, right, this NCA actually told the police to come and take a report from me because I had had a breakdown and I'd told somebody, or kind of wrote a letter about some of the abuse I'd gone through. That went to the NCA, and the NCA told the local police force to come and take the report of the historical abuse. This is about 3 years ago. 4 years ago, maybe. 3 years ago. And they turn up at my flat. Of course, it's always men as well, isn't it? They're always sending men to deal with me. And instead of taking any report, they just called an ambulance. What? Because what? And my mum is no child abuser either, and I'm disgusted with people saying those things about me. Now, my mum, she has gone through a lot of trauma in her life, and she disassociates. She switches off, she blanks it like it's not happening. She gets upset with me when I tell her bad things are happening. It's not because she's done something wrong. It's because she can't handle it. She's gone through enough trauma in her life. There's sort of disgusting, perverted people that actually, they're the abusers, go around saying this sort of stuff about my family. None of my family abuse children. And I'm not a troublemaker. People taking money from people involved in crime, spreading lies about me throughout the system, they're the troublemakers. And no one should have illegally cut off my benefits in the first place. Nobody should have withheld me from getting health care and stuff like that. If I had been, when I was first diagnosed by Guy's Hospital in 2015, and if I was referred straight away for surgery, I wouldn't have the hernia now. I should have never been illegally evicted. I would have been working now. That was my thing. As soon as my son went to nursery, I started looking for work straight away, started doing voluntary work until paid positions came up. And when I did get interviews for paid positions, I mean, I got one job, I got offered straight away after less than 15 minutes in an interview. But unfortunately, I couldn't take the job because it was starting at 8:30 in the morning. And I couldn't get anyone, I didn't have anyone to help me with school run. And it wasn't flexible. All these things, all these hopes and dreams I had of having a career, all the hard work and study I put into my life, they've taken it all away from me. They've destroyed my reputation and made me ill. And it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder I have. And I'm still getting hurt and I'm still being abused. Imagine living in a block surrounded by racists that actually find it fun torturing you. Why would these women where I live tell people I'm lying about what I went through in care? Why would they do that? Because they don't like my skin colour?